Premila, thank you very much indeed for joining the NAPE YouTube site this afternoon. And I understand that you are the CEO of the Kindness Movement. Is that correct?
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for having me here on this platform. And yes, that's correct. I'm the founder and interim CEO of BeKindMovement.
Excellent. My interest was piqued, if you like, when I saw an entry on Facebook, and I thought, well, that's interesting because about six odd months ago we did something on kindness to do with children and pets. And here's an organisation which stands on its own right about Be Kind.
It is a global movement, and I don't think kindness has uh, any countries, any borders.
No, no.
It's there for everyone to partake in. And I myself, I was born in Mumbai. I moved over to the Netherlands where I schooled with 56 nationalities, and then I moved over to the UK. So my background has been very international. So I think whatever I do, personally or professionally, always has a window to the world. And that's the same with Be Kind Movement as well.
Excellent, excellent. And of course, that's what we need to do with the children in the schools, of course, all the pupils in the schools. Their eyes need to be open in lots of different ways. Anyway, let's go for the first question. If I look on the internet, it says that the Be Kind movement was established with the aim of celebrating and amplifying the power of kindness through education. Now, as CEO, could you please tell us what has been achieved recently? Because lots of things must have almost acted like barriers to stop this movement moving forward. Is that right?
Um, Absolutely, Mike. We are a very small organization. We are 100% voluntary driven, and I guess especially in the last 2 years, it's been a challenge, but also it's been a boon. We went from 2 volunteers to 30 at one stage as we moved into the pandemic, which was incredible because it really showed that there were a lot of kind-hearted individuals out there that wanted to use their time away, as many were furloughed, to actually put back into the community to continue building their skills for some. So I've had to step in as an interim CEO in that period of time, and I'm still continuing as in that role. But it's been quite a journey. So in the last 2 years, we've delivered kindness workshops and digital filmmaking workshops to and impacted actually just under 1,000 pupils in schools,
Very
which
good.
which has really helped them with their mental and emotional health. And this has
Mm.
all been during a really tough pandemic year. And along the way, we've also thankfully, brought some more attention to our cause by winning the Charity Champion Award at the
Yes,
Best.
I saw that. Congratulations. Well done.
Thank
Yeah.
you. So that was at the Best British Women Awards last year, and that was really all about celebrating the work we're doing to support children's emotional, mental, and social well-being.
Mm.
And equally recently, our short film. I'm a film producer in my professional life, so we
Yes.
work together to create a couple of films. One of which is called "Making Kindness the Norm," and that was a finalist at the very prestigious Charity Film
Sort of
Awards. And
leads me nicely into the flagship, it's called Flagship Kindness in School program. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
sure. So the Kindness in School program, or KISS, as we like to call it, um, the key catalyst to that was a short film that I produced for the charity. It was based on a story that my husband told me, and it was to do with an incident that happened between him and a spider in a car. And I was
Mhm.
just so blown away. I thought, oh my God, I have to share this story with the world. So I went on to produce the film. It picked up a couple of awards. It screened at multiple film festivals internationally. And then a friend of mine who delivers mental health workshops in schools saw it and said to me, you know what, this film would land incredibly well in schools. And really, that was the creation of what then went on to become KISS. And I set that program up just as we were actually just as we'd started lockdown, and it is all about building emotional intelligence skills in children and young people for life. And it is underpinned by kindness framework, which I like to think is these 10 values of kindness that are all about kindness to yourself and kindness to others. And these values, for lack of a better word, are just simply different ways we can be kind. So when you're showing gratitude, or when you're looking after yourself in a mindful way, or you're being brave, courageous, or you're demonstrating integrity by certain choices you make. So these are all different ways that we can be kind. And I wanted people to think about kindness in a much broader way, rather than, the way in which it is often thought of, which is sort of random acts of kindness, or it's just something nice to do. So it's very vague. Whereas I really wanted to be crystal clear about what kindness is, and how we define it, and how we see it, and how we can live it. Because I feel kindness can be very intentional. It can be learned as a skill. KISP is just an umbrella program under which we deliver traditional workshops where we showcase films, but we also have digital filmmaking workshops on kindness, such as the Kindness Detective, which we won some funding for, which is all about going into schools, working with children to say, you know what, and especially having gone through COVID, I think, we wanted children to, who've gone through this phase of school closures and lockdowns, we wanted them to go back into their communities and really search for stories that reflected resilience and bravery and courage and compassion. I really feel strongly that we need to look into our communities for these types of stories and draw inspiration, rather than just hanging out on Instagram and being besotted by the young celebrities. I don't think those necessarily are always the role models. Your role model could be the very brave nurse, literally living next to you, with incredible story. So Kindness Detective was this filmmaking workshop where we got children to go into their communities, their neighborhoods, and come back to us with stories, but filmed on their smartphone, and then we would edit it. So that too is actually on our YouTube channel called Kindness Detectives. So there are lots of these sort of digital filmmaking workshops we run as well, because I think it's a great way to engage young minds, but also introduce them to a whole different career, perhaps, in filmmaking. I think we had already embarked on thinking that we wanted to take ITSY into school. So we did that in January 2020. And
Yes.
so I think it just happened that the pandemic hit, and I had already been trying to create this Kindness in School program, which was all about, because, one thing I want to stress is that, we go in there to help children with their mental and emotional and, social well-being. But mental health has been a big issue even before the pandemic. The pandemic just exacerbated it.
I was going to say, has made it worse. Yes, that's
has
right.
absolutely made it worse. So I think, me working in the background with a Kindness in School program just seemed to land at the right time in the right place for what we were then going to experience, which is the pandemic. But, we'll go past the pandemic. But what we've created here, I feel, is always going to be very uniquely placed, because there are always, unless we get to this place, this utopia where we're all incredibly kind and we're in this harmonious place, I think there is always going to be a need for programs that give children the opportunity to be creatively exploring their feelings, talking about things that may be really difficult for them for whatever reason that might be. So
Yes, as you say, it's a very experiential, very personal journey that those children are allowed to embark on, if you like, to understand their own feelings, their own mental states, and also help their own well-being as a result of doing activities suggested through your program, which must be incredibly valuable, I would think. And you've probably seen quite a lot of good results, haven't you?
absolutely. When you have so we get all children through when we go through the kindness workshops to do a survey right at the end of, especially if it's a one-off workshop. And it's so heartening to hear some really beautiful things that children end up saying. I mean, we know that we're really in the right place when children go, I will not hide my feelings from my parents, or they say, I'll help, um, I'll help somebody who is lonely in the playground. So we know that we are on the right track when children come up with these amazing gems, like, I'll help my teacher if he trips, presumably, that he's seen this teacher trip and perhaps not step forward. But you start to really get a very incredible insight into how children think. And when they say, I will believe in myself, you just think they really have a newer understanding of what kindness means to yourself and to others. Or when they say, I will let people help me, like I said, I know we're on the right track. I'm currently actually, we're also looking to go in and work with pupil referral units
Oh, yes. Yeah.
in Wandsworth. Again, some of the funding we've received, I've decided to direct that in the PRUs, because I feel, having spoken to the heads of these units, there is such a big demand for
Yes.
helping or facilitating children to return to mainstream education.
What about the feedback from teachers themselves? You talked about the pupils and what they're saying, and obviously thinking in the right lines, if you like. But what about the teachers? What have the teachers been saying about the program? Have they been pretty positive about it as well?
They have been incredibly supportive, and they themselves are really encouraged when they are in a classroom and observing children. In fact, one of the teachers said to me, when they were watching a film, they were like, they felt the children were absolutely transfixed watching the film and gasping, at certain moments. And after the film was finished, we engaged in, discussions, delving deeper. And the teachers have just been so amazed with how creative these sessions have been for children. And some of them have said, actually, you know what, we've had children speak who would not normally speak.
Yeah.
Or they've had children say things like, wow, we've never seen a Muslim couple portrayed on the screen in a positive way, and they kind
Rather
of,
sad. Yes.
yeah, it is. Funding is an issue. And what we're now trying to do is create an e-learning platform where we can actually put all our resources onto this platform and then basically have schools subscribe to it. And that is going to be a lot more cost effective for teachers or for
And
schools,
accessible. Yeah.
and accessible. So we're kind of like almost removing us from the picture, the middleman, in the sense that we don't want to think that education can only be delivered when you have money. We want to deliver it despite any money issues. It's going to take a little bit of time. We're at the moment, building that and looking for funding to create the platform. Our idea is that, we would be able to provide that platform for free or a very minimal cost to schools in low income areas, and work with, public schools to charge them a subscription fee, part of which would cover. So we're trying to think outside of the box in many ways that we
You have to really. And of course, once this platform is alive and up and running, if you like, could you please let us know, and then we can advertise it on our website to further the good cause, if you like. Well, you've answered quite a few of my questions, as a continuing conversation, which is great. But one question I like to ask: when you have person to person, if you have actual real people going into schools rather than virtual people going to schools, or even virtual, I suppose, how can the school tell parents or let everybody in the big wide world out there know that they've been through this if you like, teaching experience? Is there logos or badges or certificates? How does that work?
Sure. So at the moment, we have already created certificates. We're not at the badges stages yet, but we certainly
No,
have
I understand that.
designed the certificates. But we haven't as yet gone out officially to hand them to schools. It just needs a little bit of work. Obviously, we're 100% voluntary led.
Yes, of
So
course.
much about having, volunteers around us to work on things. But yes, the idea is that, we have a program, and we look to schools to tell us, actually, you know what, we just want 5 values to be taught, so 5 workshops, or we want 10. And what we want to do is, at the end of a program, basically certify the school as a school that has sat through, the Be Kind program. So that is the intention.
Well,
And
thanks for that, and thanks for your request for, and any more volunteers out there who've got a little bit of time on their hands to have a look through the material and be, if you like, an advisor to this worthwhile organisation. Thank you very much. I think we've covered everything now, haven't we?
I hope so. I feel like I've been speaking for Kingdom Come.
Anyway, thank you very much indeed for your time. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and good luck for the future. It sounds to me as if the organisation is going from strength to strength. So thank you very much indeed. Cheerio.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike, for the opportunity, and have a lovely day.
You too.